Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for joining today. We are kicking off July with our guest speaker, Nicole. Allie and I have been up to a couple things, and we wanted to give you a quick update on what we're doing. So we are trying to connect with some of the folks that are in the jail now to see where we can help out. We had talked a little bit about giving some community resources. Recently, I have been getting a lot of emails from the peers in the jail, which I think is excellent. They're asking for clothes, for shoes, for folks that are maybe getting out and going into like a 28-day treatment facility. And so if I am bugging you and asking you for clothes, forgive me, but there's a lot of requests. And so we want to make sure that we can meet those needs. If there's anyone that is interested in getting involved with that, please let me know. Allie, any updates on your side? Okay.
No, I think you covered.
All right, excellent.
Bill, can I ask a question on that part real quick?
Sure.
What jails do you cover up there?
Well, our closest jail in Martinsburg is going to be ERJ, Eastern Regional Jail. And then we also have the Martinsburg Correctional, and that's like where they get classified. So those two, and then I believe, and if you guys could help me out with this, I believe the closest prison would be St. Mary's.
Okay.
Nicole might know a little bit more about that than I would.
Now, do you guys like talk to them on the Getting Out app or anything like that, or?
We don't.
Okay.
At least I don't as of right now. I do know that we have peers in the jail, and so they are physically in the jail and they kind of facilitate a lot of, we have one right now that also works at East Ridge, and she is facilitating, like if they get out early on behalf of their bond, they have to go to treatment, she will take them to treatment and make sure that they get that information. So the Getting Out app actually might be a great resource. Do you mind giving us a little bit of information about that?
Okay. Well, I was going to ask because like I monitor the Reentry Council's email that is tied in with the Getting Out app. And I have, inmates from Eastern, St. Mary's, all wanting stuff. And what I was thinking of, if there's someone up there that could help them, because I'm in Logan, so if there's someone in that region that could help them, then, that would be probably better than me trying to find. But the Getting Out app is basically, you can go, it's on the Google Play or the Apple, the iTunes store. So I have it on my computer and on my phone. And the reason why I have it on my both is because like say someone sends you an email asking for help on the Getting Out app. And then
1 second, it's this one, right? This
yes,
app?
that's the one.
Okay.
Yes, that's the one. They have two of them. They have a Getting Out, and then they also have a video app. That's for like if you want to video call somebody.
Getting Out visits?
No, not the visit. You want the hold on, let me find my you want the GTL Getting Out.
Okay.
It's like a light blue icon.
The video one though.
The video is the green.
Okay.
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so the light blue one on the bottom by itself.
Okay.
That is the one to interact with. The other one is a video visit thing. So it comes on, I get the email, and I like to monitor on my computer because if you add an inmate on your phone, you have to know their booking number.
Mm-hmm.
But if you add an inmate on your computer, all you have to know is their name and where they're at. And then
Okay.
it'll audit, but your phone and your computer, as long as you have that app, it'll sync on your phone and your computer at the same time. So what
Okay.
the Getting Out app is a way for, inmates to communicate with family and, lawyers, with us as
Okay.
peers. Uh, it costs 15 cents to send a message. Uh, like we at the Reach, like me, Brianna, Wes, Terry, Amber, and Heather are all
Mhm.
tied into our account. So we put like money into our account, and like each person, as they interact with people, each message costs 15 cents. Now
Okay.
for them to send you a message, it also costs them 15 cents.
Of course, because
Right.
they
So
got to have their money.
yeah. So that's how that works there. And
Okay.
so I think it's either 1,500 or 2,000 characters that you can type when you're doing a message.
Okay. So if you could, okay, and this, I don't want to cut too much into Nicole's time, but I think this is
So
really valuable.
okay,
Could you tell us, so I have the apps downloaded, both of them. Could
okay.
you give me an example of what this would look like? Do they reach out to you? How do they know about you?
Well, the Reentry Council website or email is on their tablets.
Oh, okay.
It's a part of their tablets. So
Okay.
like where I'm
Everybody,
on, huh?
jail or prison,
Jail,
everybody.
jail, prison,
Okay.
juvenile, whatever facility. Like I'll walk. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. So
Okay.
contacts says add a contact. So it will ask you the state and then the
Okay.
facility. So we'll put in uh, West Virginia, and then say we'll just choose St. Mary's just for uh, where is it at? Or here I go Huttonsville. So if you see there, it'll say West Virginia, Huttonsville.
Huh.
And
Okay.
then on the bottom, it'll say next. So
Hmm.
you hit next, and then you'll enter their name. So
Okay.
if if like if they send you their name in the email, then it'll show up there.
Okay.
And then
So can you tell me how they get to you? Like for ERJ, for example, let's say
okay,
someone's at ERJ.
okay, so like they sent an email to the Reentry Council,
Okay.
West Virginia Reentry West Virginia Reentry at Council, or Council at West Virginia Reentry. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's what's listed on their tablet. So that comes to us, and I'm the one who monitors everything. So say for instance, I have someone at Eastern Regional that's asking for assistance. I could forward you or someone up that way the email,
Hmm.
and then you can go on the constant contact and then add them to your contacts, and then you can interchange with this app.
Okay. That makes sense. I think that's great. I would love for that to happen. Do you know when we are doing the navigator training again by chance?
I I know we're probably going to be doing one here soon because we are uh coming up to coming up to Charleston next week for something, and then we're trying to get together with some I'll check with Bev because I know
Okay.
we are trying to, and I'll get you that date to know exactly when. But I know we are coming to Charleston Monday for something, but I don't think it's the Navigator. I think it's for us with the red cap.
Okay.
So
Okay.
and then that red cap's a pain. So but it's okay. So yeah, but we were supposed to do some type of navigator training, and we are also supposed to Aaron, Amber's husband, is
Hmm.
supposed to do train the trainer for that recovery ally training Monday as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
Alyssa?
Yeah, can we talk, Tara,
Wait,
can you oh, I'm sorry, Allie, go ahead.
I was going to say we don't need to reinvent the wheel if Tara already does this in ERJ. Like if it's already happening, I would love to hear from Tara because she
Yeah.
already does this locally.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Tara, if you don't mind.
I was just gonna add, I mean, we can do this offline. I can, schedule a Zoom with you, Chelsea and Alyssa, and just kind of go over, our process. Same thing that he's stating. Clients reach out to us, saying, hey, I'm getting ready to be released on probation or parole or, and I need treatment. And we just go through the intake process. And a lot of times, though, it takes multiple phone calls if we're doing an intake process. It might take 3 or 4 calls just to get a complete application done for a treatment center. So depending on, the nature of the charges and things like that, if it's going to be intensive, I'll just go into the jail. We can usually get in there, during open hours, and meet with the client, even if it's after hours on the weekends. I'll go in and meet with them. They'll just place us in the attorney room and they'll send the client over to me and I'll have the application right there. And I'll get the client to just fill it out, while I'm there. And then from there, bring it back to my office, scan it in, and I'll send it directly to the treatment center. But I pretty much have a generic, application that encompasses all the information that all the treatment centers will need. So sometimes you have to send it to, multiple places. But that's,
Okay.
it's the same process that Jonathan, mentioned. And then a lot of times, they'll reach out to me and I'll just say, hey, just give me a call. You know what I mean? It's easier for them to just call me and I can, better understand, their circumstances or what they're actually looking for. But once we get an acceptance letter, I'll, a member of my team will appear in court with the acceptance letter on behalf of the Hope Dealer Project, type deal. But we screen hard though, because I don't do the get out of jail free cards. I screen hard. So I've learned the hard way, because I literally thought my phone number was plastered on the walls in the bathroom at the jail because my phone literally blows up. I get anywhere from, gosh, 15 to 30 calls per week,
Wow.
and yeah, it gets daunting sometimes, but I screen hard. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So we'll connect afterwards. That'd be awesome to hear how that goes and kind of go into detail about how we could maybe assist in that in any way. Okay, awesome. So we have my dearest friend, Nicole. She's going to talk to us a little bit about grace. And Nicole, whenever you're ready.
Well, thank you, Chelsea. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Let me make sure my volume's up. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. So I am super duper excited to be here this morning. It's good to see some folks that I have seen recently and some that I haven't seen in a while. But I appreciate Chelsea giving me the opportunity to talk to you all this morning. This might be a little bit different from what you're normally used to, but I talked to Chelsea about what I wanted to do when she asked me to come and share with you all a couple months ago. So I have my information in the chat box. My name is Nicole A. Bailey. The A is intentional. That is why I utilize it. I am the Assistant Executive Director from GRACE, which stands for Greater Recovery and Community Empowerment. We are a nonprofit organization. We train recovery and life coaches and recovery coach professionals. Once people are trained in our network, we then ask them to volunteer and give back and coach other folks. So anyone, anywhere, all over the world can go to our website and request a coach, and they will be connected with a trained coach. We do, these classes are available on Zoom. We also do private classes if someone would like to have a private class. We facilitate the classes, but everything is pretty much done through Blue Ridge and Eastern. So if someone is interested in the class, depending upon what county they live in, they go through Eastern or Blue Ridge for that particular process, and then we facilitate the class. We also do private classes for nurses. So we have a relationship with the Board of Nursing in West Virginia, and we train nurses, and then they can also provide coaching to other nurses, because that can be a very specialized field, because nurses go through a lot as nurses. And so we pair them up with nurse health coaches. We also go into correctional facilities, and that's part of the reason why I am here today. We are able to go into the correctional facilities and facilitate these classes for the residents that are there. Between myself and Marty Steiner Unger is the executive director. I'm going to try and keep an eye on the chat box to see if I, so I don't miss any. Oh, wonderful, Thomas. I don't want to get sidetracked. So between myself and Marty, we are able to go into the correctional facilities. We go to Huttonsville, Denmark, Parkersburg, Charleston, St. Mary's. Offhand, I believe that's where we kind of rotate between the two of us. And I just actually received a message last week from someone through their aunt who said, "Hey, can you guys come to the facility where I am now and do this class?" So there's a great interest for the gentlemen and the ladies to take this class, and they receive the same certifications while they are still in the correctional facilities. So I had the opportunity earlier this year to go to St. Mary's twice. We have two classes. We have the recovery and life coach class, and then we have the advanced class where folks are able to earn the recovery coach professional certification. And so I really was able to spend 2 weeks with the gentleman at St. Mary's. And as we were talking, I was talking to them about reentry and the reentry councils, and that I try to come as many meetings as possible. And it was during that time that Chelsea kind of said, "Hey, would you like to come and talk at a meeting?" And I wasn't really sure what I was going to talk about. But then as I was talking to the gentleman in class, they really expressed that people they don't have a voice. They feel like they don't have a voice and no one hears them outside of that space. And so what I did was I said, well, I have an opportunity to speak to the reentry councils. Would you like for me to be your voice? And so some of them wrote down some things for me to read to you. And so I'm going to be their voice this morning. And I will tell you that many of the gentlemen were nervous. They didn't want their name on anything because they feared retaliation if someone found out what they said. And so some folks put their names on their papers. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 papers. Some folks put their names, some didn't, but I am going to keep them anonymous because I do just want this to be an opportunity for you to hear out of the mouths of residents. And I'm using that term residents because that's what they asked me to call them, right? One of the things that we talked about was how once they're incarcerated, they don't feel as though they're treated like human beings. And so they wanted me to talk about bringing humanity back into our correctional system, because though many of them are there for terrible reasons, right? And I never go in and I never ask why. It's only if they tell me why they're there, right? But I don't go in, but they're still human beings and they want to be treated as human beings and not second-class citizens. So with that being said, I'm just going to read to you what these gentlemen had to say. So the first gentleman wrote, "Many offenders suffer from financial insecurities upon re-entry to society. Considering most offenders may classify for community corrections based on their classification score. Classification score is what determines your security level and which correctional facilities you qualify for. Yet, mandatory or discretionary overrides to be utilized, preventing penal residents from benefiting from community corrections, such as work camps and work release facilities. Work release facilities were instituted to aid long-term offenders in reentry by affording the opportunity to earn money that will ease and aid in transition back into society. Over the past few years, West Virginia has introduced bills to afford more offenders the opportunity to utilize work release facilities. However, none have been incorporated to aid in reentry. In 2021, regular session of the West Virginia Legislature, House Bill 3163 was introduced. In the 2025 regular session of the West Virginia Legislature, Senate Bill 24 was introduced. Both bills seek to amend and enact 62-11A-1B and 62-1219. These codes afford offenders who've been saved 10 or more years of their sentence to participate in a work release program and spend 6 months in a work release center. This opportunity will aid reentry and alleviate some of the financial burden we face during reentry. These opportunities will lessen the dependence on state and federal being utilized to mitigate the financial burden of reentry. Financial insecurity is the main reason most reoffend. Work release removes that burden and will lessen recidivism, ultimately making our neighborhoods and cities safer for all. So I just want to give a pin in that and say that I didn't research the bill numbers or anything like that. So if that's something that you want to research, that's fine. I read this as presented to me. And so the conversation that I had with the particular gentleman that wrote this, he was saying that, you know, it's great when people get out, but if they don't have the financial stability to be able to maintain a life outside of the correctional facilities, it is almost a failure for so many. And he told me his story that, you know, he'd gotten out, but he didn't have the financial stability. And so that is what caused him to go back to his old ways, right? And so this time he was determined to make sure that not only did he have the financial stability when he got out, but that he was also going to be advocating for financial stability, for work release programs, to be able to assist people with the training, because a lot of the trainings have also been taken out of the correctional facilities. And so he, you know, part of what he wanted me to share was that the training that is being taken out of the correctional facilities is not helpful, right? Because an idle mind, what happens to an idle mind? Your mind starts wandering, you start going back to all the negative things in life. And so we also had a conversation about the training and the need to have those trainings put back into our correctional facilities, to have those educational programs put back into the correctional facilities, because not only does it provide the training, but it also provides hope. It provides hope that when I obtain this training, when I am released, when I am paroled, that I have a skill and I will be able to apply that skill so that I don't have to come back into this facility. So, so that was the first gentleman. The next paragraph that I have, page that I have. According to Policy Directive 454.01, it states that the DCR staff member is to submit a home plan to OIS for the parole officer assigned to the release plan area for investigation. However, the DCR staff here take it upon themselves to call your home plan at the time it seems as if the DCR staff are trying to convince the home plan from accepting the parole. Also, if DCR staff does not agree with your home plan, the DCR staff will not submit it to the OIS and will tell the inmate that it was denied. When in front of the parole board, many inmates state and feel as if they were being on trial again, and that they were not being judged on what they have done while incarcerated. Many are denied without giving a reason. And so again, this is not from my mouth. This is from the voice of the resident. So I want to make sure that you understand that I didn't write any of this. This is to give you an idea of how these gentlemen feel, right? And what he said was that many times they feel as though, as he said in his letter, that they're being retried again in front of the parole board. And it's not, they don't get to speak about the things that they've done while incarcerated, the classes that they've taken while incarcerated. And so this was his feeling, whether that's accurate or not, you know, I can only express what is read on the paper. So next letter. Reentry is such a large, sometimes insurmountable obstacle that sometimes people can't get through without the proper tools, knowledge, and resources. With better information and rehabilitation techniques, people would be better equipped and have a higher chance of success. Possibly by allowing more offenders to go to work camps and work releases, they would have a better, more knowledgeable set of skills to help them be successful. So again, we're talking about skill set. What can we provide so that when folks get out and re-enter into society, they feel as though they have the skill set? Our world moves so quickly and so fast that now, like, what happened 6 months ago might be obsolete. We know that just from being outside, right? And so there's a great need to make sure that when they are released and when they are re-entering, that they have the skills that are available, right? They might have computer skills, but maybe it's, you know, giving a refresher course in computer skills. They might have carpentry skills, but has, you know, anything advanced, is there anything new that they need to know? They might have done whatever that skill set is that they have. What can we do as a community to make sure that the skills that they have are relevant for today and what's going on today? So that was a great concern for this particular gentleman, because he was up for parole soon. And he said, you know, I want to make sure that the skill set that I have is relevant, and that, you know, what I learned 10 years ago might not be relevant. So do I need to learn something new? And am I going to have access? Oh, wonderful, Thomas. I know me and you are going to have a meeting soon, because you are a wealth of information. This is a sidebar. I met Thomas maybe 2 weeks ago, and for veterans, if you have veterans who are in need of resources of anything in an hour, I learned so much from Thomas, just sharing about the information that he has, and he has a huge heart for veterans. So if you don't know Thomas, get to know Thomas, because Thomas is a wealth of information for veterans, and I'm super excited for us to just be able to sit down and I can glean information from him. So I digress. So this is kind of my last letter from folks. And again, this is from their heart, right? This is their heart and their opportunity to be heard. And again, there were so many that were just like, yeah, I'm not going to write anything because I don't know who's going to hear it. And even though I said, I'm going to keep you anonymous and nobody's going to know who wrote what, there was just a lot of, yeah, I'm still not going to do that. Like, I like you, Miss Bailey, and I trust you, but yeah, I just don't know. And I'm like, so you don't trust me because I'm telling you I'm not going to say your name, right? But I understand that those are barriers and those are walls, right? You don't just trust someone that you've known for 9 days. So I was like, okay. So this is my kind of last letter, and this is actually bullet points that this person wrote down. Some officers abuse their authority. Hostility sometimes is created when groups are punished for the actions of individuals. I get it, Thomas. People are still hungry after 8 p.m., even if they've eaten all 3 meals. There's a lot of mental illness and emotional trauma. Psychological therapy is needed and necessary. Some officers believe their treatment of you is supposed to be part of your punishment. Some officers set residents up for failure, deliberately putting them in bad positions. We do not have it made, no matter how nice the facility or the privileges we have. Extended periods of 2381 is inhumane. 2480 does happen a lot. Showers should not be a privilege. I've eaten a lot of rotten, spoiled food from the kitchen. Commissary is extremely expensive. Medical care can take over a month to get a response, and they do not always want they do not always want what is best for our overall health. And so that is my last note. And one of the gentlemen gave me like a booklet of policy. He was like, I don't know if you're aware of policy, but he gave me, and I was like, oh, thank you. And so today, like I said, this might be a little bit different because I'm not providing a lot of information, but I believe that what I provided was valuable, because these gentlemen don't feel like they have a voice and they don't feel like they're being heard. And so I wanted to seize the opportunity to share with you how they feel, right? Whether some of it is correct or whether some of it is incorrect, that's how they feel. They feel as though they're forgotten. Many of them, their families no longer talk to them. Their families no longer communicate with them. And so even when looking at the potential of release, there's no hope because they have nowhere to go, right? I was there in March and a gentleman said, well, I was paroled in December, but I have no place to go. And so I'm still here. And so that is the reality for a lot of folks, that though they've served their time, because they have nowhere to go, they're still incarcerated. And I think that we just need to kind of see and let folks know outside of this space, right? Because in this space, hopefully we're here because we're concerned, right? Hopefully we're here because we want to see effective change. Hopefully we're here because we want to do better. But I think it's so important for us to share outside of this space what we know is going on and what we know to be true and factual. And so hopefully I've given you a glimpse into the life of at least 4 gentlemen who are residents at St. Mary's. These gentlemen were at St. Mary's, and not only did they give me these letters, but they shared their stories with me. Some of them were like, I'm not going to write anything, but I'll just tell you, right? I'm not going to put any pen to paper, but I'll just tell you what's going on. And so, one gentleman, when he did his home plan, he was nervous about his home plan because he's in recovery. He's in recovery, he's doing everything, but the only place that he was approved for his home plan was to go home where his parents were still active users. And he said, I don't want to go home. And so my only alternative right now is to stay here. And so I think we need to try and figure out what's that in between. Where's that space that we can provide for folks who want to get out, who want to do better, but then their only option is maybe to go back into the very thing that they're trying to escape from. And so, and that broke my heart because I was like, man, like, what do you do? And he said, I don't know. I definitely don't want to stay here. But he said, I don't think I'm strong enough to go live in my house with my parents. Right. And so many different stories that I heard, right? So many different stories. And so, just want to be able to offer hope and maybe see who has some ideas. I don't have all the answers. I told them when I was there, I don't have all the answers, but I know some people who are working to make things better for you when you get out. And so I hope that has been helpful to you. I am so passionate about this work. I found myself in this work really by accident, not thinking that I would ever find myself facilitating classes in correctional facilities, but it is honestly some of the best work that I've ever done in my life. And I am encouraged when I talk to gentlemen and they tell me about their hopes and their dreams for the future. But I think it's important that we as communities provide that space for them because they do still have hopes and dreams of starting businesses, of finishing school, of starting nonprofits. but we just need to be able to provide that space for them. So thank you for listening to me this morning. And Chelsea, thank you so much for the opportunity to share. I appreciate it.
That was awesome, Nicole. I really appreciate you. And it's like, there's so much that you want to say, but you can't say everything that comes to mind. So I hear a lot of the, the financial insecurity. And then again, I've heard from several residents at St. Mary's that they get granted parole, but they can't necessarily come home. And so I think that that's something that, hopefully over time we can address and at least start to hopefully facilitate and see what we can do about that. Maybe come in and offer some sort of assistance. Jonathan, when do you also get those requests as well? You were kind of acknowledging when Nicole was saying that about housing. So I just wanted to what do you think about that? You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I have a guy on my client list who was granted parole October of last year. And because he can't get a home plan, he can't be released. Fortunately, I was able to get him, and I'm hoping it goes through. I don't know if you guys know what Pride is up in, I know Logan, they have one. It helps like older folks who may not have food, may not have, people to help them. So it gives them food and outings and stuff like that. But they also have a veterans outreach, and the guy that I'm trying to help is a veteran. And so through the Pride program, they have a veterans program to help people come. So I'm hoping that will work, because like you said, and a lot of things with Nicole, what Nicole's saying is, I spent 23 years in prison. And so I know all, I see all the stuff, especially with her, saying, oh, I don't know if I want to write this because I'm going to get in trouble, Now, my circumstances were different because I was in Guam. So I don't know if anybody knows where Guam is at or anything like that, but that's where I did my prison time at. And so I understand, all that, and the coming out with nothing, and so that's why I started doing this, got my PRSS and everything like that, because I know what it's like to come out of prison with nothing, no family, no anything. And so when I came back to West Virginia, I've got involved. Nicole, do you know, because you spoke on some things with like the halfway houses and stuff like that. And I know a lot of the halfway houses in West Virginia are not operating the way that they're supposed to be operating. Have you ever spoke with Kenny Matthews and the American Families Service Committee?
I have not spoken with Ken Matthews. I actually just met him maybe 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
At a restorative justice workshop, but I know Lyda Shepherd. Do you know Lyda?
Okay. Yes, I know Lyda as well.
So I know Lyda. Like I said, I'm just kind of fell into this work, especially with the reentry. And so, as you all know, there's so much to learn. And so even when I was having this conversation about halfway houses and work release, I was like, really? I had no idea. So I'm still learning, but I will definitely hit him up if he's a resource I should be learning more from.
Well, I'm also part of the criminal law reform with them in Charleston. We meet once a month.
Okay.
And it's me, Lyda, Bev, my boss, Seth DeStefano, Sarah Whitaker, and Kenny.
Okay.
And we meet and do stuff like, just talk about stuff like this and what we can do, changes we can make and stuff like that. So Yeah, it's I see that, Thomas. Yeah, Jobs and Hope does help out as well too. And if you're in Southern West Virginia, Cofield Development is another resource for helping for job placement and stuff like that. Before I started here, I went to a training with them, and they paid me like $375 a week plus gas mileage reimbursement. So it was a really good program, and they offered me a job a week after I started working for Bev. I told them, sorry, I'm in the job that I love. So
That's
love that.
awesome. So,
Jonathan, I'm sorry, Chelsea.
oh, go ahead, Nicole.
No, I was just going to say, Jonathan, I'll be reaching out to you. I think the other thing, excuse me, that's important is although I read the letters, it's also advocating for the residents who on the inside, right? Like when I go, they're like, don't eat the food here because sometimes we don't know what we're eating. And I was horrified. I was like, what do you mean you don't know what you're eating? And they're like, we just don't know what we're eating. So we just sometimes don't eat. Right. And so that's the inhumane part of like, regardless of what someone has done or why they're there, should we not be providing the food? Right. Should we not be providing them proper nourishment so that they're not saying, well, I don't know what I'm eating. I looked at the food and it was gray, so I didn't eat the food that day, right? There's advocacy that's needed on the inside, right? And then, when I went in March, they were like, today's hamburger day and the hamburgers are really good. Would you like us to bring you a hamburger? And I'm like, well, last time you told me not to eat the food. So which is it? Like, are the hamburgers good or should I not be eating the food? Right. And so I think there's that point of advocacy, you know, to advocate while they're inside, right? That one of the gentlemen wrote about commissary and that some of the things that we take for granted, that I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. A piece of candy costing 50 cents, like not a candy bar, but a little tiny piece of candy. And so when and knowing that they were like, oh no, here's a piece of candy. And somebody's like, man, you know how much he paid for that? And I'm like, no, because to me, I'm like, I don't know, like it's like penny candy to me, right? But a piece of candy costing 50 cents and knowing that they're not making a whole lot of money uh, while they're incarcerated anyway, it's just certain things that we can advocate for, treating people as human beings, right? And advocating for how they're being treated on the inside, because I think that has a bearing on, obviously mental state, emotional state, all of these things. And do we want healthy individuals when they're released, or do we still want damaged folks when they are released? And I think it's to our benefit as a society if we treat people, the golden rule, treat people as you would like to be treated, right? And if we treat them with humanity and give them some hope and give them some love while they're still incarcerated, when they re-enter into society, then we are better for it. And I think that's an important piece as well. So that's all I have. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. I'm going to be getting in touch with you because I'm interested in what you guys are doing.
I put my information in the chat. So
yeah, got it. Thank you.
That's awesome. I did, okay, so just to go back to our chat, Tanika was saying that halfway houses are for federal inmates. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yes, I always say, I'm going to school right now. And so I actually just wrote a paper on reentry. And so sometimes I think we are sticking to the punitive punishment rather than the reform and actually considering the problem. And so it's spaces like these and advocates like you folks that are hopefully offering hope in that situation and changing the narrative. There was something I found on Facebook that I wanted to share with you all. This was in Berkeley County, and it was on a Berkeley County Facebook page. It says something has to be done about the jail food around Martinsburg. It's inhumane, moldy bread, rotten fruit and vegetables. Multiple friends have said this. It makes me sick thinking about the condition that human beings are going through as they're convicted. It doesn't give them a reason to serve green bologna sandwiches on moldy bread with rotten tomatoes and fruit. It's ridiculous. Someone needs to look into this. I also had received a message, and it said that this person is compiling information for the superintendent of ERJ. I guess this is a family member, but it says, I will be persistent in exposing the abuse within the jail. You have antagonized the wrong person. I pursue Patrick Morrissey to investigate this matter if feasible. The extent of the abuse is evident in a severe injury inflicted upon my brother. Medical attention, needing medical attention at Ruby Memorial. The doctor was astonished at the nature of the break, which required realignment of the bone and an insertion of a rod. This incident involved 4 individuals straining my brother, while another, with a prior restraining order, assaulted him. The physical violence of assault remains visible. My brother is initially targeted while cleaning a cell following a rape incident. A guard unjustly accused him of misconduct. This guard harbored a prior vendetta against my brother stemming from an incident 4 years prior. My brother exercised his medical rights when the guard attempted to intervene in his disclosure to the doctor. I am resolute in ensuring accountability for the harm inflicted on my brother and other families. So this isn't just happening here. I do a lot of work in Virginia. I do some work in Maryland. It's happening everywhere. There's Louisiana, there's California. Injustice is happening everywhere. And so we can't fix everything and we can't be in all spaces and places. But this is why our networking and our community relationships are so important, because in the off chance that we can, like you said, Nicole, be the voice for someone who doesn't have a voice, we can be in that space when they can't. And so I would encourage you to keep building those relationships and having these hard conversations and being the bull sometimes when it comes to advocating for folks that are inside and the injustice that's happening. I always say, I wrote this also in my paper, I've run a red light. I've ran plenty of red lights, I'm sure. You know, I've ran a stop sign, and what the difference between me and the next person is that maybe they weren't looking, or maybe they didn't pay attention and they hit someone and killed them, and now they're incarcerated for a life sentence of murder. And where I was just didn't care, I still wasn't paying attention, and I ran the stoplight or the red light. The other person, it actually damaged somebody else. And so it's the same act, it's just one was heavier. And so I would, I would just advocate in your own way. We have, like I said, folks that are getting out. If you have access to clothes, shoes, hygiene products, those kinds of things, we would certainly love to partner with you in that. And I want to give you back a couple minutes of your day. So if there's any questions, please let us know. I'll put our email. This is for the Eastern Panhandle Reentry Council. Of course, you can go on the West Virginia Reach Initiative, their website, and speak with any of those folks. And there are reentry councils across West Virginia, so you can get a Zoom invitation to any of those and speak, or just hear what they're doing and what they have going on. So I would encourage you to do that. Go ahead, Jonathan.
If anybody would like to be added to any other reentry councils throughout the state, send me an email, because I have the constant contact information, and I can add your email to it and get you on any council that we have.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. That would be awesome. Lori talked about in any upcoming simulations. I know I asked Bev one time if she would come down and conduct one. she's doing like a training, Jonathan. Do you know more about that?
Uh, I know in Parkersburg, she did the building bridges thing.
Mhm.
I'll talk to her later on today and see. I'll let her know that you were asking about and see if we got anything coming up. And if we do, I'll send out an email to everybody. I'll make a flyer for it and send it out to everybody. And as long if everybody got this email for this one, so it will do it that way. If we can
Yeah,
let the
I think,
change,
Lori, that
what's
might be
change?
interesting. I'm sorry.
What is chamber? Can we let the
Like
chamber?
the Chamber of Commerce, if
Oh,
we
okay,
could get them involved, like, and do it then,
okay.
I think that would be super interesting. I think that's a really great idea. Ashley, are you still on? Ashley Landers? She was talking about
Oh,
having.
yeah, I'm here.
Hi, were you saying at one time that you had a simulation?
No, I think
Oh,
that was a different Ashley.
I'm so sorry.
You're good, you're good.
So if you guys have any access to that, or if you know someone who has a reentry simulation going on that's in our area, if not, maybe we can ask Bev to make a special trip. Awesome. So I'll let you guys go. I hope you all have, oh yeah, Ashley Lowe, I'm so sorry. I appreciate that, Danica. Thank you. So maybe we'll reach out to Ashley and see if she could facilitate that for us, or Bev. So we'll figure it out. I think that's a great idea. Thanks, Lori. And if you guys have any other questions, anything else we can do for you, or any way you want to participate, please let us know. Give us a call. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Chelsea. Good to see everyone. Take care.